think we need to step back because I'm trying. Yeah, we're going to get reviews on it. Maybe we can check some lights. It was kind of crazy that last week.
Yeah, I'm gonna go outside.
Yeah. So grab one mic just quickly. Right. Lock the camera. Be careful. Don't. So this is. I'm gonna shut the volume. Yeah. Oh, because it's sticking on this up, but. Yeah.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, test. Audio test. Audio. City Colleges of Chicago. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, test. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can't hear him.
Yeah? No? Let me, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, test. We're talking, we have, this is a test. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. This is a test. Oh. You know what? There's a 2-second delay. There's a delay.
It's a delay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can hear him, it's just a delay.
There's a delay, but I think that's normal.
It's like maybe a 45-second delay. So when I said I can't hear him,
Okay.
Test. 3. You got it? Test.
Hello, everyone. If everyone can take the seat, we're going to get started. We need your attention, please. If everyone can get settled. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Today, we will provide an overview of City Colleges of Chicago proposed budget for FY20, which will be considered by our Board of Trustees at its August 1st meeting at Kennedy King College. Today's hearing is being live streamed on YouTube, and viewers can submit questions they have via email to cccbudget@ccc.edu. Questions will be taken from members of the public at the end of our presentation today, and now I will turn it over to the Chancellor for additional comments.
Thank you, CFO Rodriguez, and thank you in particular to Deputy CFO Jeff Wong, to the entire budget team. I know this season is a very busy one for you all, and I appreciate all of your hard work in this effort. But I also know it is a team effort involving our college presidents. I want to thank each of our college presidents for your leadership and all of your faculty and staff that have been engaged in some way over the course of several months and, quite frankly, the entire year. Because this year we introduced a new budget tool, Anaplan, that will bring greater efficiencies and capabilities to City Colleges of Chicago. The time for spreadsheet budgeting is long gone. The new system will give us an opportunity to be more efficient, effective, and provide better and more useful information. I want to make sure that everyone knows that this budget that we are presenting today is balanced. It does show that City College of Chicago continues to recover financially from the state budget impasse and enrollment declines we have faced in the last several years. At the same time, we continue to make investments in our students. We're committed to affordability. We have not raised at City Colleges tuition across the board in 4 years. In fact, we did have a bit of a tuition adjustment last year, but it was to make things more equitable. CCC is also the only community college in the state that caps tuition at 12 credit hours and has no fees. We also continue to invest in student resources, including transit cards for full and through a pilot program, part-time students as well. We continue to make critical investments that add to access to our institution, including $8 million this year budgeted for STAR Scholarship Program, $2.9 million budgeted for the dual credit, dual enrollment, Jumpstart to Jobs, Summer Fast Track. These are all opportunities for us to dig into our public school population and help them to become college-going students as well, and athletic waivers. We're also committed to best-in-class facilities That has included issuing bonds for Malcolm X, for Olive Harvey, for Daly College, all which total roughly $311 million in outstanding bond debt service that we have on our books. And this year, we are also initiating bad debt reduction strategies. We are implementing strategies that will help us to reduce the amount of bad debt that we have on our books, including enforcing payment deadlines, which began this summer and will continue into the fall, as well as other strategies that we are looking towards the future. So if you go to the next slide. It is also a very big priority of ours is to recognize the work of our staff. And in the last 2 years, we've been able to reach labor agreements with 98% of our bargain for workforce. This means we have locked in predictable labor costs for the next few years, in addition to being able to ensure that we are honoring our commitment to our labor force. We maintain these priorities in an environment where City Colleges has faced historic enrollment declines from which we continue to recover. In fact, our declines have been steeper than our peers in Illinois and nationally. I believe you're looking at a graph that shows this. That gap is beginning to close and narrow, but at one point was pretty wide. And as you can see here, I've got another slide for you. If you can switch to the next one. As a system, we are beginning to level out. You'll see that we're just about average from last year's spring to spring in comparison to other colleges in the state of Illinois, okay? But I think it's really important for everyone to know that the cumulative enrollment change does impact our state funding. So in fact, while the state-based operating grant for community colleges in Illinois increased on average 5% statewide this year, City Colleges will see a 7% reduction in its base operating grant due to the change in our 3-year enrollment trend. This is a formula that has been set and the distribution of base operating grants for many, many years. The fact that our declines were greater than other state community colleges' declines is a big reason, our past declines, a big reason why we did not see that bump. As many of you know, we've taken numerous steps over the past 2 years to rebound from reducing administrative positions and administrative benefits to making operational efficiencies and launching a planning process to reverse enrollment trends. We continue to make strategic choices in this budget to achieve balance. However, our staffing remains out of proportion with today's smaller student population. In this budget, we make the difficult decision to lay off 29 non-faculty staff to more closely align staffing with our enrollment size. Please know that staffing decisions are taken very seriously and are made after we have employed a wide range of other strategies. We all deeply value the work that our staff does every day. I want to remind everyone that our work on enrollment requires urgency, an urgency to ensure that we are making every possible opportunity available for students to be a part of this great institution and to continue to be a part of this great institution. Our teams at each of the colleges have been working along with district staff to build strategic enrollment plans that are guiding our work this summer and that will continue to guide our work as we move into the future. I'm now going to hand it over to CFO Rodriguez for the remainder of the presentation.
Thank you, Chancellor. And now onto our FY20 budget highlights. There's obviously a lot more information available in the tentative budget book that is available online, but we will call out some key components on the next few slides. First, we will discuss our planned FY20 revenue, then a couple of views on our expenses. We will also then talk about City College's current cash position. Total revenue is budgeted at $315.9 million for FY20. The Illinois Community College Board, or ICCB, best practice recommends that a third of our revenue comes from each of the following sources: local revenue, tuition, and state funding. As you can see in this chart, we fall short on state funding at 20%, or $63.8 million, and on tuition at 28%, or $88.8 million. We make up for some of the shortfall in the local revenue, which includes property taxes and TIP revenue from the city, at 40%, or $127.6 million of our budget. The rest of our revenue sources come from the building sale proceeds and other revenue at $12.9 million, or 4% of our total budget, auxiliary and enterprise funding at $12.6 million, and other sources come from fundraising, investment income, and federal revenue. Our first view of expenses is summary by business unit or cost centers. 85% of total expenses is at the colleges or directly related to students, that is tuition waivers, debt service, and bad debt. And the remaining 15% is the district office. Our second view on expenses is shown by budget line or object. The biggest component of our budgeted expenses is salaries and benefits at 72%, or $228.8 million. The next biggest component is debt service at 8%, and these two items comprise 80% of the total budget. The rest of the expenses are in bad debt, scholarship and waivers, and other expenses. The next couple of slides speak to key drivers of our budget. On this slide, you see two major revenue streams: tuition and state funding. Tuition revenue has declined by $23 million, or 21% since 2014 due to our continued enrollment declines. And while state revenue is getting closer to where we were prior to the state budget impasse, we expect that number to increase as our enrollment improves. Investments in our students continue to rise since 2014. Debt service has increased from $6 million to $21 million as we continue to modernize the colleges. Scholarships and waivers continue to grow and is currently at $13 million from $5 million in 2014. Our cash position continues to improve since the state budget impasse a few years ago, which resulted in us using cash reserves until we hit a low point of $55 million in 2017. The sale of 226 West Jackson this year will help with both the FY20 budget and also continue to build our cash reserves. We begin FY20 hopeful in our capital plan. The state has legislated $27.6 million for city colleges as part of the recent state capital bill. However, we don't know anything yet about how or when funds will actually be dispersed to colleges and universities. Our total proposed capital plan for FY20 is over $42 million, and is contingent upon actually receiving the state funds and applying any required local match from CCC cash reserves. Our proposed capital plan was developed through several working sessions with college leadership to identify priority deferred maintenance projects, which include life and safety projects as the highest priority. We also continue to invest in the necessary information technology to support student learning objectives across the district. This page highlights a few projects per college. All 7 of our colleges will have priority deferred maintenance projects in FY20. As you can see, most of the projects are for priority life and safety items, such as boilers and elevators. Full project lists have priority rankings, which will allow college leadership to accelerate or postpone projects pending upon actual funds available. This concludes our presentation for our FY20 budget. I invite I invite those of you with questions to raise your hand, and a team member will come to you. We will also take a look and see if any questions were emailed from those that are watching online. And I thank you for your presence here today. Thank you. Do we have any questions online?
Given that the declining enrollment in the city colleges is lower than other community colleges in the state of Illinois over the past same period, what do you attribute, in particular for the city colleges, why was that enrollment even worse than the rest of Illinois?
Yeah, I'll take that question, Tony. I've consistently said to every stakeholder that I've talked to about this matter that, it's hard to pinpoint any one single reason. It's a confluence of things, I think, that were occurring in our environment. Some of them you could say out of our control, some of them within our control. I think obviously it was the time period where, state MAP grants, you say, well, that happens all across the state, except if you have a larger proportion of students that are very much dependent on those MAP grants, you've got a higher number of lower income folks, you're going to trend, where that's going to hurt you more, right? But the other thing is we've seen lost population. We've seen a very strong outward migration of particularly African Americans on the south side. We've also seen lots of gentrification near and around Truman. That has made enrollment in that area more difficult. These are some of the external factors. I think, there were some strategic choices that were made in this district, on areas of health career occupations, right, that have very likely, impacted enrollment too during that time period. So when you look at, and there was the specter of other potential closures of programs that made people, maybe reticent to enroll in those programs, right? So you put all of that together. There's also, by the way, while the Latino population continues to be a larger percentage of the overall population in CPS and as well in our district, immigration has slowed. Right, and so, and then of course you have, the economic factor. We've in the last couple of years have been dealing with a growing and a stronger economy, and so you start to see, part-time students taking, just one less course, right? Because they're working a little more, right? So, we've got all of these things. They're all working during the same time frame. It's hard to pinpoint any one thing. The one thing I know for sure, right, is that, we've got to get to the point of having college-specific strategies, okay? And that's the work that we're doing at each of the colleges, planning that's done from the base of the college, thinking about what is it that we can be doing to grow enrollment and what are the strategic areas for growth, in the future is an important, part of our overall equation. As is, by the way, we have in the sort of, particularly in the part-time market, right, lots of students that would take an extra course if it were available online. Right, and so, we've got to be responsive to those opportunities that are available. Our students take a mix of courses that are, at our colleges and available online, and we pay a lot of attention to the quality of that programming. President Lopez will be doing a presentation at this coming board meeting, I believe, right, to talk about the online work. I think that will sort of help us with that base of students that is, working and going to school. I think that's a big thing. And then the other So, I hope I answered the question. It's a whole confluence of things. And the most important thing is that we accelerate the work of the strategic enrollment, management planning, right? At least when I came in, we didn't have one that I could find, right? A strategic enrollment management plan. And we certainly didn't have one that was built from the base of our colleges, that was worked from our colleges, and that's what we're working on now. So those should be available by the end of August, but our teams have been working on them, throughout the year. Did I answer your question? Yep.
Do we have any more questions or time? Checked online, none. Okay. With that, we conclude the FY20 City Colleges of Chicago public budget hearing. We appreciate your time and thank you all for being here today.